welcome to this week's episode of the Melanin Muses podcast, where we will touch upon the topics of BIPOC and LGBTQIA issues within and outside the community, as well as personal experiences with those struggles. And on the other side, content creation, marketing, and social media with our guest muse, Felicia Fefe Minor.
Fefe is most known for her involvement in the community for more than a decade as an entertainer, social media guru, makeup artist, wedding officiant, and as a co-host and producer of the show Let's Have A Fefe with Felicia Fefe Minor and Freddy Prinze Charming. But that's not all. She was also crowned Miss Gay Supernova US of A Newcomer in 2011, and she kept on going from there all while attributing her success to the supportive friends and family that surrounded her.
This fabulous human being has aided an array of nonprofits and community organizations where she assisted in raising more than $5,000 during the COVID-19 pandemic. She has also been featured as the official Billboard Diva for the LGBTQ Consortium, participated in Ripple PHX's Ripple Breeds campaign, and so much more. Lastly, she's no stranger to mentoring those who aim for greatness. She prides herself in always being willing to lend her talents to up-and-coming entertainers, helping with various pageants, assisting with makeup, and teaching the new generation of divas how to channel their own brand of fierceness, as well as reminding them and everyone else to rock their fabulosity, all of the above.
And with that being said, let's get started, y'all.
Hi, Fefe.
What's up, Fefe?
Hi, how are y'all?
Living, doing good, loving the 60-degree weather. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, being in Phoenix, that is always a good thing for us. When we see water dripping from the sky, even better. So our summers are torturous. So yeah.
I respect you for being in Arizona because there's only one thing that keeps me from visiting, and it's the tarantula wasp. That thing terrifies me.
I'm sorry?
You don't even know about the tarantula wasp. It's the wasp that was evolved to kill and eat tarantulas. They have the second most painful sting in the world.
Okay.
Fun fact for you. Terrifying
Oh my
fact.
goodness.
Well, if you
never meet one.
If you never came in contact with one, I think you'll be all right.
Now that you mentioned it, it'll probably happen. It'll probably be.
I knocked on wood, so I think you're good. I think you're okay.
Oh my goodness!
So now you know if you come across one, you can blame Quay for that.
My intention was not to make you afraid. Moments into this
I've met a
episode.
tarantula, but I've never, and a wasp, but I've never met a tarantula wasp.
It's a spawn of Satan, hell on earth, and
oh my god!
And it will not leave.
Wow. Okay. Keeping a lookout for that. Never going hiking again. Wonderful. Wonderful.
On that conversation, let's get to why we're really here instead of talking about tarantula wasps. So, for you listening, please let us know if you've encountered one. I'm actually really curious now if y'all ever
put that down in the comments
creature.
and the reviews or something. I need to know about this. I feel endangered now.
No, please.
That's
so not our intention. Quay, this is your fault. So, let's shift this conversation to more important things. Well, yes, more important things of you, Fefe. Like, we gave you this long behind bio intro, but we just want to hear from you. Like, please tell us about you. Like, what was it like for you growing up? What's your favorite color? The basics. Tell us about you.
Okay. So I grew up in Southern California. I was a burbs kid. I grew up in the suburbs of California. I didn't necessarily grow up in the hood. I know that all of our experiences are different. But I had my own struggles. In fact, my parents were unemployed for a couple of years in between that, and I don't know how we survived to stay in the burbs, because you know how that can go down really drastically. And then so in about 2004, I moved to Arizona. I grew up Catholic and very conservative, so I never had any experiences or I feel like I lived a very sheltered, conservative little Catholic boy life. And then kind of broke out when I got to Arizona. I met like my first, no, I knew gay people in California, but I like met like my first boyfriend here. Just had many first. And basically came out to my mom when I met my husband, then boyfriend. And I did it kind of sneakily. Ooh. And left a note like on the dresser. You know how like you see it in the movies? Don't ever do that to your parents unless like there are those parents that you can't tell anything to. Like my mom is my best friend. So like that was like woo. But with that being said, it took a couple of months, maybe years, for my mom to come around and say, okay, I fully accept this, and I'm going to stop throwing Bible verses at you, and let you live your life. Fast forward a little bit. So I have two kids via my husband. And now those children are old enough that one of my daughters has now had two grandbabies, which one arrived before the new year. And so just around the corner, there she is. And so in meeting my husband, I was introduced to drag on our first date because we went to dinner, and then we went to this club called Wild Card, and that's where I saw my first drag show, and I was like, okay, mental note, we're getting into this. We are getting into this. I had dabbled in the makeup. I had done like like the club kid look. I had done like, oh, okay, I need to look cute, but I had never transformed before. And so the year after that for Halloween, I said, you know what, I'm gonna, give it a shot. Had this busted down wig, had these huge lashes that did little to no makeup, and decided that I would put on a corset that didn't really fit. It was all questionable at the time. And I look back at her and go, oh, there she is. There she is. She is very questionable. But evolution shows that we all learn from our past, right? Including not wearing the right foundation color, because I thought you had to go completely out of the box to find your foundation color. But for anybody that's out there, now they have tutorials for Black girls. So at the time, YouTube did not have that many makeup tutorials on how to apply foundation, do all the things. Now you can find them. But my instance, I had to find my way around the makeup counter and figure out what was me and how it was such. But don't start with white and work your way that way. Start with something that's closer. That's my advice to you. Because I looked like a clown. I looked like a clown. And
honey, I understand that.
How would you have not known?
My husband is very much the balloon popper, as I call him, and told me, you're not doing this right. And I said, yes, I am. And so then one day, I was being mentored by many people that kept telling me the same thing. But one day, we were photographed by the newspaper. And so I tell this story often. And you are more than welcome to look through like my Facebook profile pictures. It is an evolution of her face. That's what I call it. Anyhow, so one day the paper came out, and it was like an anniversary of some sort. And so the next day somebody sent me the picture, or I saw it, something, and I realized, oh my God, you look terrible. And that was the day that she had to change because she was looking a hot, muddy mess. And so from that day forward, we we try to put it together. Some days are not as good as, the last one, but and then I have been doing drag ever since. So since 2007 is really when I had like really made it more of a side hustle, more of a career type deal. And then somewhere along the way, I got a Wednesday night show with another group of folks, and we had every Wednesday night, and for a while it was great, but then it turned into like, is this really worth my time? And so I was thinking, how can I take myself off stage? I don't have to go nowhere. I can just dress up and, be who I am. And that's when I decided, because live streaming was kind of like in 2012 is when we started. It was kind of like, and that's when they had like Periscope. Uh, Shout out to the OG like social media gurus out there. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be a way for me to take my persona off the stage and put her in front of the camera and let's do live streaming. Because I was like, I can do this. And then I invited Freddy Prinze Charming over because I was like, I don't know if I could do it alone. And I was right, because in some of those episodes, I tried to do an episode by myself and it was and so yeah, we've been doing that ever since. We've evolved that and had so many guests, including RuPaul Drag Race girls, and Dragula. We've had artists, we've had authors, we've had just you name it. If I get interested in somebody, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna seek out. I'm gonna be nosy, real nosy. Because hosting a show is being nosy. That's what it is. Because you need to know. And then yeah, I've just been hitting the road and trying to figure out what's next, what's next, what's next. And so this year, 2023, I set the goal of I'm going to do more speaking engagements. And here we are. You are my first podcast in 2023. Yes.
Wow. We were here for, well, oh my God, this is a moment in history then. Heck yeah. Well, we
Yeah, the
appreciate you even
third
being,
day
yeah,
of the year.
we appreciate being your first podcast that you're on, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yes.
That means I conquered a goal within the first 3 days of the year.
Wow, that's actually better than most too. I'm pretty sure people are still recovering from their hangovers, myself included.
Are you speaking from experience, Quay?
I just said myself included.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. See, I cry internally for your pain because I don't drink, so I just kind of laugh at you. It's great. I'm kidding. I don't do that. I cry sympathetically with you, Quay. Well, because it's you, I laugh at you.
Yes, she does.
I mean, it's out of love, I promise. Sometimes it's out of
It's
love.
always out of love.
Thank you. But like, no, that thank you for sharing it, like that your history and your story with us. Like that's fascinating. Like you guys couldn't hear us, but because we had to meet ourselves, but it was great. And I love how like your meeting of your now husband, correct?
Mhm.
Was your introduction to this whole lifestyle change for you. That's absolutely fabulous. And how did there's so many things to address here when it came to your growing up in terms of like the religion aspect of things, how did that affect your growth mentally when you were trying to shift in this direction of joining the drag community, recognizing your sexuality? Like, did that have a big impact on you at all?
That's such a good question. In fact, I think I went on like a spiritual journey, because you, and I say this very politely. I feel like once you get to a certain age, you grew up with something that's like this long-standing thing. You're like, okay, you grew up such and such. And so the thing for me was that I knew that maybe in the culture of the spiritual culture, let's call it, it wasn't accepted. There was this like bubble. And then like I wanted to break out of the bubble. And so when I moved here to Arizona, it was my chance to explore, find out, you know, we all go through. And then so, but I still had this, to address your question, I still had a problem with my spiritual journey because I knew that homosexuality wasn't quote unquote allowed. And then like there was a little bit of time where I was, even if you're not religious, you have to have like this spiritual moment with yourself where you're just like, okay, what do I believe? How do I feel like I can elevate myself? How do I feel like I can center myself? Um, I feel like I became more spiritual, especially during the gay marriage, you know, propaganda, whatever was going on in the 2000s. In fact, around the time I came out too, was I think they were fighting for gay marriage. And so they kept saying, yes, you can get married. No, you can't get married. No, yeah. Some states said, yeah, no, not completely. I mean, it was stupid. And then
What's not completely? What is that?
I mean, like you could be a domestic partner, but you can't say that you're husband and husband. In fact, when I got married to my husband the first time, like the one that I keep as the record date, we had to go to like the Justice of the Peace in Los Angeles, California, because Arizona was not allowing anybody to get marriage certificates. But we went and we were domestic partners. By the time we got there, we were domestic partners, not married. And so a piece of paper is a piece of paper. I know who I love. Anyway, um, and I'm not destroying anybody's value. And in fact, I think when we move into some places, we bring up the value. But um, when I went to church, it was just so odd. I was like having these conversations, like, I'm like, whoever is in the higher power, you need to tell me, is this the place I need to be, or do I need to go find somewhere else? It's like it was on like speakerphone because I'm in church. The guy, the priest does, opening, and then they show we need to come together and tell people that marriage is between a man and a woman. And they show this video of like why they think that marriage, like it was like well done. I should not say well done, but it was like very professional, and it's like telling people like, oh, it's gonna ruin the sacred meaning of marriage, and one lady's in tears, and oh my God. And you're like, I wonder how many gay people are sitting in here right now and don't value their lives right now because they see this and don't think they're supported by their community. And so that's when not that I announced anything, it's just that I just kind of was like, okay, I believe in a higher power, but I'm going to go take my business somewhere else. And you don't have to have a church to be spiritual. You don't have to have a huge church. You don't have to have, I mean, just as long as it's not like culty, don't be culty. But I say that you just need your own spiritual journey. And when people are like, I believe in God, and then they're being told like you have to meet this criteria, this criteria, this criteria, then it's like, oh, I mean, it limits everybody. It just limits those that are outside that bubble. So I hope I answered your question. I get off on the tangent sometimes. You got to bring me back.
Oh, that was good. The true faith comes from you yourself. No one
Mm-hmm.
can tell you how to truly believe. That is up to you and your God. That is up to you and
Mm-hmm.
what you believe in. And so long as that you are okay internally with it, there's nothing wrong. And I think
Yeah.
that's always glossed over. I think that actually is like a term that we actually learned in one of our last episodes, religious abuse. You know,
Oh,
Mhm.
where and I actually think that's actually really rampant in the Black community and stuff too.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
actually, it's in a lot of the other communities, but it's the you believe in this, shut up, don't question anything,
Absolutely.
even though to truly love what you believe in is to question it. Obviously, you know,
Mm-hmm.
free will, use your free will and
Mhm.
stuff. And I think
And
that's
also
just
the
Absolutely.
so glossed
concept,
over.
and also the thing that gets me the most is when people try to utilize religion as a weapon to have an excuse to hate other people, because whatever higher power you believe in, at least this is my perspective, who are you to say who they love and who they do not? Because, for
Mm-hmm.
example, if people believe in the higher power of God, because I'm not Catholic, but I was raised in a Catholic school since I was 5 years old until I graduated college. But my family was Baptist, so I got to see two sides of those types of communities. But it's interesting when they're like, well, God's perfect. God created us all in his own image, and he loves each and every one of us, except you because you're gay, or except you because you're black, or except you because we just don't like you. So the thing that gets me, I'm like, you're the one who said initially that God created us in his image, but now you're saying that he doesn't love these specific people. That means he's not loving himself. So, and then you are also just a human. Who are you to dictate what he says? If we were all put here for a reason, that means he put us here for a reason. We're all supposed to love each other. You can't just take bits and pieces to try and fuel your agenda. If you're going to be living by some types of virtues, at least do it properly to spread love and stop spreading
Mm-hmm.
hate. And that's the thing that kind of ticks me off. Like, I respect religion. You can believe in Allah, you can believe in God, you can believe in the universe, as long as you're just respecting people and respecting their lives and not inflicting harm. Why does it matter what people do in their personal lives? Why does it matter who they like? Why does it matter who they love? How is that affecting you and your livelihood? That just shows
Mm-hmm.
me you're not paying attention and you don't want to think about your own issues. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely.
On that note, let us transition into the next portion of the conversation of the acronyms of the community, the BIPOC and LGBTQIA acronym. So I'm sure there are a variety of people who are not quite sure what these specifically stand for, or there's an idea. So would you mind clarifying that for us?
Yes. So BIPOC, which is BIPOC, which is just easier to say BIPOC other than BIPOC, is Black, Indigenous, People of Color. Um, and so instead of it just being Black people, instead of it just being Indigenous people, we like to group things together in our culture. I felt I feel that in the last 5 to 10 years, we have all come together and been like, look, we are sitting at the table together. Let us present ourselves together. So that's the first acronym. And then LGBTQIA, and sometimes people include Two Spirit, which is 2S, you'll see attached to that. But in most instances, you'll see LGBTQIA plus, which is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, I lost. Queer or questioning. Oh my goodness. Intersex, and asexual. And then plus, like the Two Spirit, is the full-on rainbow as it is. I think I got those right. Don't take my gay card away if that's wrong.
That is not my jurisdiction, so you have nothing to fear. But
I am
what
not the respectable person or representative of all queer people, and anything that I answer is of my own experience.
so what was it like growing up with these communities? And do you think there's been like a huge change, like comparison from back then to now?
So I didn't grow up gay. I let's clarify that. I grew up gay. I knew probably since like the third grade I was gay. Um, I just didn't grow up out of the closet. Let's say that. That's a more efficient way of saying it, because there are people that are out and proud from like day one. They go, and then they're like, "I'm gay." That wasn't me. I feel like my coming out was when I moved to Arizona and I was able to be myself. So but I did grow up around, like I knew gay people. In fact, my neighbor was gay. So, but all at the same time, like, as I said earlier, like, I grew up in a conservative household. So you kind of keep your feelings and your being to yourself. Even pretended to have girlfriends. Um, it's bad when your girlfriends break up with you with the same little breakup line. They say, "I think that we would be better as friends or buddies." And they say it in a way that you're like, huh, the last girl said that. What does she mean? And, like when I came out, I thought, oh, they all knew. My mom says she knew. Everybody knew. I'm like, well, if it was such a, like everybody knew, why didn't somebody tell me? Like, hello? But, you have to have your own awakenings. And so growing up, I would say we have done so much work on loving each other, loving ourselves, that I don't want to say that it's not as bad as it used to be. I would say we have a higher level of acceptance. We still have those people, yes, those people, that love to conquer and uh, come after us for no reason. We still have a high number of trans people dying and being murdered, especially Black trans people. We are the highest number of murders. And I believe that people, there for a while was a high number of excuses of why they were murdering all of us, is because they had shy dick, because I didn't ask if I could be vulgar on this, but I'm
You're
sure
fine,
you'll
honey.
correct me if it. But a lot of people that murder trans people say that they were conned or they were fooled, and they decided to kill the person. And so there's still a high number of that. We're fighting for trans rights, trans people to have health care. We're fighting for gay people to give blood. Why are we still fighting that? We're fighting, just all of these things that, just so many things.
Has
But
the what's all been
yeah,
happening actually, has that made you do less drag, or has that made you want to do more and want to speak
okay.
out more, and like,
Ooh,
no, just because this is happening doesn't mean this is going to make me scared to do it?
okay. So story time. I have not mentioned this, but last year, because I can say that now, last year, um, the White Nationalist Party, I feel like, was the leading charge on this. And so um, they decided, and Republicans here and there decided that drag queens were a danger to children, um, whether they're at all age shows or at drag story hour. And so um, in that happening, I realized that I was being tracked by the White Nationalist Party. In fact, it kind of happened like overnight, it felt like. My my first inkling of it happening was that I went to a story hour and somebody was, there were 3 protesters. But they were shouting that I was at a strip club giving away sex toys the day before I went to a drag story hour. What they are missing is that I host a sex trivia night with Freddy Prinze Charming at a club that is not a strip club, and the prizes for the winners are sex toys. Another thing that I don't think should be so taboo. I think that even if you explain it to our preteens and they're older, that they would be more open and they would not experiment as much, leading to teen pregnancy. But that's another story for another day. And so he was correct on that I was at sex trivia night giving away sex toys, but it had nothing to do with children. It had nothing to do with drag story hour. It was something completely different. And I don't bring sex trivia questions to a drag story hour, or nor do I allow children to be at the sex trivia night. So, but my finding of that they were following me was that that protester knew a lot about me. I thought I was nosy, but they do a lot of homework. And then I realized my social media following was just skyrocketing, and my Instagram stories was on and popping. Not that it's not usually, but it was on and popping like thousands. And I was like, oh, what's going on here? And so after that protest, I was like, they've got to know, like, they've got to be like either following me, or because even during like election time, I started, paying attention to those people that weren't in their right mind, let's say, to speak. And then so I started looking at my Instagram story, how you could see everybody. And I realized that all of these people were like connected and had the Confederate flags on their profiles. It was very astounding. And then so like maybe a week later, a couple of reporters reached out to me because they said, we just need you to know that the White Nationalist Party is following you. And I was like, oh shit. That's when it became real. Real. Real, 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 real. Because then on the news, sometime in between this, there was a guy that threatened during Pride Month, he was going to go to the Targets and shoot the people that, that were gay or that shopped in the gay section of the Target. Didn't stop us now. We sure got our t-shirts. And we can order online, boo. There was a point where I said, because they were following me deeply, being at events. In fact, one snuck into a drag story hour, and we have now amped up the security and making sure that everybody is safe. So they turned something that was magical and something that was self-rewarding into something so what feels like going into wartime. Like you have to check the front and back entrances and, just making sure that you're safe and making sure that everybody that you have now invited is safe. Where I got a little turned out was I went into like a self-reflection moment, was like, okay, do I do this? Because I have a family. And from time to time on my social media, I post my family and I don't need them coming after my family. There was the moments where I was like, what if I get killed at a event? Is my house in order? Never have I ever thought about that, because drag is like my creative release. Drag is like my creative happy place. And so they had stepped into my whimsical, magical world and just set me like backwards, like, is this worth my life? And like, how do I respond? And slowly but surely, I was thinking, you know what? I'm not going to sit and let people destroy what we have built. A. B. Am I going to be any more happy just waiting for people to like calm the hell down? I'm not. Um, and what better way to show people that I can be better than what they think I can be than to just go and, oh, okay, you want to protest? Good job. You can protest, but do it safely across the street. Make sure you spell your words right, because when they protest the drag story hours, they don't spell the words right, or they have grammatical errors. They need to get it together.
At least hate
If
me
you
with
go,
proper grammar.
I mean, just get me together with we're with apostrophe. Um, you know, I'm not saying get a copywriter, but maybe if you're gonna protest and make it public,
Maybe proofread.
yeah,
Maybe proofread what you write.
maybe you shouldn't be protesting literacy when
You obviously
it might help your children. But to answer your question, yes, there has been a time where I was like, oh my goodness, what did I sign up for? But I don't think, no, no, they're not going to stop me, or there's hundreds upon hundreds of us. What are they going to stop us in every town? I don't think so.
Well, I am happy to hear that though, because again, like trying to actually like having a group to actually try to impress you and actually like and for what? Because you simply don't understand, because you don't know much about the community, because you actually don't know what you're even hating for. And I like to point out, maybe because you might be bi-curious and you don't know how to deal with it, and you've never have been in an environment where you could actually openly talk about it without any judgment. And now it's all boiling up as anger and confusion. So I don't know. That could be it as well. But still, I'm happy to know that you're still doing what you love. You're still being your true self. Because nothing is more annoying than having someone tell you how to live and tell you how to be and tell you what you're doing is wrong.
The funny thing is, they wouldn't let me. I'm sure if I was like, well, I don't really like guns, so maybe I should go to every gun show and protest. I'm sure they wouldn't like that either. Just a full tilt boogie drag queen standing in front of a gun show. But I've got better things to do. And Beyonce says the best revenge is my paper. So I'll earn the coin. I'll keep doing good for my community. And you can protest. I'll be earning on top of that.
Yes. And I think that's also like this nonsensical type of hate and ignorance, just and the lack of even wanting to learn more about things is wild, because fear seems to stem from the unknown. People fear what they don't know. People fear what they don't understand, especially if they're from like a small area and they're just like, well, this is not our normal, so it must be bad. I get it. Back in the day when we were like cavemen and stuff, anything unknown, like if you've seen the Crudes and stuff like that, oh, anything unknown means we die. But in this day and age where we have such access to education and information, there's no excuse not to educate yourself on something you do not know about. Like, in this way of, I think it's also a sense of insecurity and jealousy that can stem from that, because when they see people living, for lack of a better term, living their best life, living uninhibited, living what is true to them, even if it defies all of the societal norm, they see people living so freely and authentically themselves. I think that inadvertently can elicit this insecurity to make them reflect at themselves of, oh, well, I'm not accomplishing my dreams. I'm not doing this. Oh, crap, I can't think about this. Now I have to reflect that anger off to someone else. Like, how dare they try and be different? How dare they do something that isn't what we're supposed to be doing, because it's self-hate that they're just putting on to somebody else. And they're teaching that to kids. And this stuff is learned. We're not inherently born hating each other. And that's what's so sad. People are perpetuating this cycle and it needs to stop. Like, it blows my mind as you tell us the story of like drag story hour and story time, like just reading to children. How is that dangerous to them? You're reading them stories that are already published by other people. You're not trying to fight the kids and having a little like Fight Club. You know what I mean? Like Guerrilla Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club. Like, you're not doing that. You're simply entertaining the children, allowing them to ask questions, allowing them to be creative and explore things. And why is that so bad? Why is it bad to inspire creativity and artistry within children? That is something that I think people need to step back and think about. Why do you want to prevent children from actually being open to seeing people who are different from them, not just from race-wise, but also lifestyle habit-wise? Why does that threaten you so much? What, because you're afraid they're going to love people too much? You're afraid that people are actually going to live in harmony together, and that will give you no more ammunition to be hating on people for no reason? People need to really take a good look at themselves in the mirror before trying to perpetuate this hate on these children. Anyway, that's all this to say is like, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing those experiences with us. I can't imagine how anxiety inducing that can be, but there's so much respect to you for standing your ground and continuing to do what you believe in to represent your community and represent those whose voices need to be heard. So literally, really, really much respect to that, in which I think is a very perfect time to just go for a quick break before we go into this next segment, because there's so many gems dropping. Let's take a quick break.
All right, guys, and we are back for part 2 of our interview. And we've been talking about a lot of things today, but let's do a segue into actually talking about drag. Fefe, what is drag?
Drag for me is so many things. So of course, everybody sees the makeup, the wigs, the lashes, the shoes, whatever. They see that. For me, drag started out as that, but it was a way to find more of myself. So I believe that Felicia is an extension of me. She is what I fear sometimes. And so when I have no face on, then I'm a little bit more quiet, more conservative, not conservative in the way I grew up, but a little more to myself. But once I put on the makeup, the lashes, the hair, everything comes to life for me. And then sometimes during the day, you channel that. You walk into your work meeting, you go, I am Felicia. I'm going to carry her to this meeting, and I'm going to, talk my truth. And when I walk out of there, when people go, oh, that was amazing, I'll be like, no, that was Felicia. I'm going to go back to my whole call me later. Yeah. So drag for me is an extension, an ultra persona that drags out, pun intended, the things that I fear trying, looks even like that I would never walk down the street like on day to day and go, well, this is what I'm looking like. But it's also a persona that helps me provide for my family. It's also a persona that helps me learn more about my community and do things for my community. Gosh, she's so much. And now in 2023, I want to carry Felicia into helping other entertainers or LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs find their voice, help them market themselves, help them brand themselves, because that's ultimately what we're doing every day. No matter if you wear the same black shirt and the same black pants and the same black shoes, you are walking through the door and saying, this is my brand. You are walking in the building and somebody goes, oh, yeah, that's them. That's how we recognize people. That's how we eat the same bag of chips that we've been eating since we were 12, because the brand sticks with us. And when you get to know people and you get to know their brand, that means it's stuck. That means there's been people that have been following me since 2007. I can't believe it sometimes, but there are people, that means the brand stuck. So it's just there's a lot. I carry a lot of different hats, a lot of different wigs.
How did Felicia come to be? Because you were mentioning that she's a persona, an extension of you. What sparked her birth, for a
Well,
metaphoric type of words?
she's a Halloween, so she was born on Halloween.
Yeah, okay. Tell me more. We're listening.
And then so how did that come to be? Because the first date that I went on with my husband, I was like, oh, we getting into this. We getting into this. Why did it take so long? Maybe a year or so. I'm sure there's people that have longer journeys. I don't know. That's just where it spouted from. But then as the journey continues, like at first it was just, I'm gonna get this trashy wig and I'm gonna put on makeup and dress up for Halloween. But then it became more than that. It became learning more about myself. It just became more of a, like, how can I learn more about myself? How can I be better? That was one of them. One of my growing points is, how can I be better about myself and learn more about myself? How can I take care of myself better? Skincare is a thing. Got into that particularly because I was breaking out after like wearing, heavy makeup, and I was like, this is not the ticket. I need something better. Yeah, she's just been an evolution alongside who I am as a person. And this year I'm pushing myself to be even more than I was by doing more speaking, doing more podcast guesting, I guess. So many opportunities. I've gotten to travel because of Felicia and see things that I, probably would have been like, I don't want to go to that city. But, you go there and you go, oh, what? Shoot, I'll come back, And so there's so many opportunities, so many things that I have learned and done through her.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like, and the fact that she's not, it feels like she's also a real person to you. Not only like, oh, that's just that's just a face I put on. It's just, she's actually an extension of who you are, and has been able to make connections and build relationships with other people outside of your normal circle. And that's absolutely beautiful. And which leads me to ask, like, what do you wish more people knew about drag? Because I wasn't quite familiar with a lot of the persona aspects and how they're like an extension of yourself and just the basics. And you've been teaching me a lot. So what do you wish more people knew about it who aren't familiar with the drag community?
Oh, that is a heavy. I wish that more people knew that the difference between a drag performer and a cross-dresser. One is a fetish, in my mind. One is a performer, and I mean they could both be performers, but cross-dressers are something different than a drag queen, because I think that's where people get the concept of that drag queens are harmful. Also, if we are doing performances and they tend to be like, if we do my neck, my back, that is not definitely the person that we are all the time. Or, like nobody walks up to Madonna and says like, you're sexualized all the time, or, just this weirdness that is carried. We're usually very vibrant people that want to help our community more and more every day. And we're not looking to seek any major reward, or if any reward at all. So all of these things, when we learn about ourselves, when we learn about our community, is to bring an uprising to what we are, is a marginalized society of people trying to be better people and lift each other up. So that's where I think that people don't know. And it takes hours to get in drag. So when you interrupt our business, that's where me personally, I take it personal, because I'm like, oh, it took me hours to look like this. Please get out of the way.
Yes, I love all of what we have been learning so far, and it definitely leaves more room for future episodes. So y'all, if y'all enjoying this as much as we are, please let us know in your reviews and comments and all that stuff so we can bring Fifi back to go more in depth on a lot of these topics, because there's so much I want to learn. But before we come to the end of this episode, we have to learn more about your business, because you got to be making that money. And I'm sure people want to know, how can I make that money? So can you tell us more about like your business, as in content creation journey, your production in different types of endeavors? Tell us how you make them coins.
So I have been in social media and marketing for about 15 years. And this year's plan has been to kind of give Fifi the keys to that knowledge and have her be the voice and the person behind it. Not because I don't think that I can sell it, but because I feel like it'll be a fun way to entertain and do something a little different this year. I do that. I do graphic design on the side too, as well as photography. You will not get a drag queen with a camera. I cannot promise you that, because that takes a lot of work and your price would be so outrageous. And then what I want to really do is help LGBTQ plus IA entrepreneurs finding their voice, building their brand, and moving them forward. So I can also help with that. And all those skills together, I feel like I'm like a one-stop shop kind of when it comes to marketing yourself and who you are. So that's me in a nugget. I'm always available for speaking engagements, shows, etc., etc.
Yes. And where could people connect with you more? Like, where can they find you if they want to book you for photography or book you for a speaking show or a drag story time? What are the best places people can find you at?
So you can find me under the tag of Diva Minor, DIVAMINOR, on most socials, or you can go to FeliciaMinor.com and we can go on from there.
So guys, again, there's just so much more to go into. So make sure you stick around and you subscribe, and you also follow Fifi on their journey.
Oh, I forgot to mention my podcast. My podcast.
Oh, yes. Mention your podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, we do weekly on Wednesdays live at 8 p.m. Arizona time. Sometimes it switches. Arizona doesn't observe daylight savings time. So I say 8 p.m. Arizona time. And you can find us on everything. It's called Let's Have A Fefe. All one word, but Fifi is spelled F-E-F-E, not F-I-F-I. F-E-F-E.
As we actually bring this episode to a close, are there any last thoughts or advice that you would like to give our listeners?
Wake up every day wanting to be yourself for yourself and rock your fabulosity.
Ooh, love that. Quay?
Guys, be your true selves. And for those who think that we need to go back to the original way, let me remind you, look up love lives in Greek history. It's always been there, guys. Change and be better for it.
And from me, guys, last little nuggets I want to leave. A last little nugget is just be kind and respect everybody around you, because you never know what they're going through. You never know what they've been through, and people at the end of the day just want to be heard, understood, and loved. And I'm sure that's something that you would like too in your life. So why not give that to someone else and just keep that cycle going? Pass the kindness on, and don't judge. Don't judge until you know someone's whole story. Even then, be kind. So on that note, guys, thank you so much. And number one, thank you, Fifi, for joining us on the Melody Music Podcast.
You.
We really appreciate you coming on. We've learned so much, and we look forward to bringing you back in the future.
Thank
you.
And
I'll be here.
For y'all listening, we thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Melody Music Podcast.
To hear more, please subscribe and follow our podcast wherever you listen to us.
And also, we would love if you would give us a rating and a review wherever you listen to us, so that way we can keep bringing you quality content. And we love hearing from you. And be sure to check us out on our Instagram at Melody Music Podcast, as well as our official YouTube channel. Subscribe, give us a comment, and let us know. Start the conversation, because we love that. And follow Fifi. We're in the kind way.
Yes.
Don't be a creeper. Follow Fifi and just just do it because we say so. So on that note, see you next week. This is Nikki signing off.
And this is Quay signing off.
And Fifi.
This is Fifi signing off. Thank you.